We survive off of one income in Southern California. This is our mentality behind our system. Living in Southern California is expensive, and being on one income almost feels like it's unrealistic to even accomplish, but it is possible. And it's possible not because we have a ton of money, but we've put a system together so that we can move forward and be able to accomplish the things that we want to. And today I'm going to talk to you about our mindset behind what we've done to make sure that we are taken care of, and my wife is enjoying what she wants to do, which is be home with our children. So when my wife and I were going through premarital counseling, and we ended up talking about finances, and we noticed that we had $166,000 of non-mortgage debt, and right off the bat we knew, okay, we have to crush this. We have to figure out how we can do this and prepare ourselves, because this is going to be a process. And so when we were going through counseling, we both agreed that that's something that we want to focus on. And we got on the same page right off the bat, which is a huge support going into marriage. So thankful that we were able to be on the same page. As newlyweds, we figured out that we wanted to not just accomplish this, but we wanted to figure out how we can do it. So that it never was the question of, can we do this, or will this even be possible? We simply just asked, okay, how do we make this possible? How do we get out of this amount of debt? How do we move forward in making sure that we enjoy working here, and then being able to live here in Southern California? Now, my wife originally got her teaching credential and finished her schooling up, and I've been a school psychologist for a while now. At this point, I'm at 13 years. So we knew that we were going into the educational field. When we really started thinking about having children and what would that look like for us, we actually moved to a different city, and we started to think, well, once we have kids, are we going to do daycare? Are we going to ask Nana and Grandpa to take care of the kids? And my wife wanted to stay home with the kids and make sure that she was there to take care of them. And so when we had our first, like, she stayed home, and but thankfully we had prepared before having kids financially, and what it looked like to actually just live on one income. And although it was difficult and challenging, and at times I thought, well, this is going to be unrealistic, we ended up pulling it off, because we had done the work of being on the same page and figuring out the numbers and how realistically that would look like once she was at home. And yes, we had to look into the budget and make sure that we were sticking to the budget and making sure we were both on the same page and we were both contributing to the budget, not just me. Now, I'm the numbers guy. I'm definitely the nerd. My wife, she is this free spirit. She could care less about a spreadsheet. However, she does contribute to the spreadsheet, and she gives me her insight, what she needs, what she wants, and we plug it in and we see what we can do based on that. And so, being the numbers guy, I like to be organized. I like to have a spreadsheet. At times, I have multiple spreadsheets, but she is part of the process, and I lead my family in that way, because I'm responsible for it and I enjoy it. Thankfully, my wife is willing to participate, and she has a say in it. So there are some line items that have her name written all over it, and I'm okay with that, because we're on the same page, and thankfully we're able to. Some of the categories that we have, the first one up top is giving. Now, giving comes off the top as first, because as believers, the Bible says to contribute to the local church, and that's what we do. And some may say, well, it's 10%. Some say, well, it's what you can. Some say give from the heart. Some say, well, you have to follow the law or else. I just what we do is simply give what we can, and I hope to increase that as much as possible, not to be at a 10%, but hopefully later on in life be at 30, 40, 50%. Imagine being able to make so much money you can give to your local church. That would be amazing. And so our mentality is not capped at 10%. It's we want to make sure that we're generous people, and we do what we can with the little that we have. And so thankfully, we are able to contribute to the local church. Second category would be fixed essentials, so like housing, utilities, insurance, debt minimum payments. Now, so the second category would be like fixed essentials, like housing, utilities, insurance, and any type of like other payments that we have to do. I do have line items for sole proprietorship items that I have to pay for, and then I also manage the business income similarly to how I run the personal finance. So I keep a spreadsheet for that, and then again, like the line items for the sole prop things like YouTube channel needs, or any other like different endeavors that I'm doing, like building certain software or whatever it is. I categorize those within the personal budget, and that covers category number 4, which is business investments. So that if at any moment I need to pour money into the business, or I'm developing, like I said, a software to then pitch to people, all that is coming within the personal finance. So I'm going to make a line item and make sure that my wife knows, okay, these things are because of what I'm building. And so and because we're on the same page as far as like building things and like creating things, she's okay with me taking money from our personal finance to be able to fund these different avenues. And then we have a category 5, which is everything else. So entertainment, eating out, non-essentials, and we make sure that we have everything that we need, and make sure that we talk about the things that we want. And again, we've been doing this for a long time now. We're at 7 years at this point. So we've been actively on the same page with our finances for the last 7 years. And it's been such a blessing to be able to do that. Now, thankfully, at this point, my school psychology salary takes care of the foundation of our household, and our company, 6719 Solutions, that's what drives the growth. That's what's coming in from our design agency, and we're able to allocate it appropriately. And it's been such a huge learning process to be able to have a business, and then how do I pay myself, or how do I then grow the business? And so that's been a huge learning curve, and I'm still learning a whole lot, and still have improvements to make, and so it's been a process. So our goal is to have my school psychology salary as a foundation of what provides for our family, and then everything else that comes out of either building software, or the side business or the design agency, or whatever else God calls us to, we're going to be able to use that to go above and beyond, and build something for our family. Now, you may be thinking, well, that sounds great for you, and that's wonderful. It sounds like it's going well, but really, the first 3.5 to 4 years, we did everything it took to make sure that we got out of debt. And we had multiple jobs at one point. My wife was working when she was pregnant. Like, we hustled to get out of that debt. We made significant moves to make sure that we were out of $166,000 of non-mortgage debt. And so we said no to a whole lot of fun stuff. We said no to a lot of great things that we could have done. And now we live within our means, and we're able to tackle what's on our next goal line. And so that's been really such an adventure. So looking back, I can't believe that we did that, but we dedicated 4.5 years to just making sure that we got rid of everything. That way we could live within our means, and especially with my wife wanting to be home with the kids. And that has been a game changer. And without getting out of that amount of debt, we would not be able to do that. And so to be able to sit here 7 years, into our marriage, like that's been such a blessing to see her be with the kids. And she gives me text messages. She sends me text messages, we're doing this or we're doing that, going to lunch to Nana and Grandpa's, and spending time at, Old Town, or to hear those things is such a blessing, because I know that we both have worked hard to be able to be in this situation. When I think about what we had to cut in order to make this possible, I look back and we didn't get into any car debt. We don't have a car payment even now. It's super tempting. I love cars. But one thing that we didn't do is get into buying vehicles. And I'm so thankful that we didn't, because it just, the amount of money it takes to buy one basic car is ridiculous. So we didn't get into car debt. We learned to say no. That was another thing that we really embraced, was saying no to fun trips and things that we could have completely fully funded with cash, but we said no to them because we wanted to take that cash and then dump it into the debt. And we said no to trips. We said no to expensive outings with the family, or as a married couple, we were mindful of how much we were going to spend for date nights. We said no to the latest and greatest. I mean, I'm in the tech space, and there's so many things I could have bought. Even now, I'm hesitant to buy things, even though we can. And we just chose to say no, and we cut certain things out. And those were the things that we cut out. That comes to mind right now. But those things, now we can do those things, to a degree, and being out of debt and being on the same page, now we get to enjoy different things, and we say yes to trips, we say yes to certain things, and it's okay. We're not going to, suffer, but it definitely helped us to build that muscle of like, okay, no, we're going to delay gratification so that we could then enjoy that on another time when we don't have this stress on top of us. But what helped us ultimately was getting on the same page initially, and then being able to move forward from there. I mean, we always dream together, which is fun. We'll say, I want to, or we want to live in this certain area, a certain house, or I want to drive a certain car because I like it, or because it does X, Y, Z. It'd be fun to do this or that, or I'd really like to buy this thing. And so we dream, we set goals, we set visions, and thankfully we have a roadmap that really guides us, and we're able to just follow our map, and that's been a huge blessing to be able to do that. And it's fun. I mean, at the end of the day, these are first world problems in my opinion, but it's fun to be able to attain, to have fun, to go on trips, or stay here or there. But it's just something that we have enjoyed because of the work that we put in early on in our marriage. An encouragement that I would give would be to have a conversation with your wife. Start it off. Even if you're not the nerd, maybe you're the free spirit guy that doesn't like spreadsheets or budgets or anything like that. It's all right. Like, you don't have to be the nerd. But I do think that as men, we do have to lead in this conversation and figure out where we're going to go. What do we want to do with our finances? How are we going to accomplish our goals? Do we have goals? What does that look like? What is our vision? What is our mission? And how can we dream together? And so I highly recommend having this conversation. And if by any chance, if you've been horrible at leading in this way, just simply ask for forgiveness. Say, I'm sorry, I've been horrible. I've been, I haven't been the best husband in this area, and but that changes today, and it's okay to say that. That is a role as a leader that we have to humble ourselves and recognize when we have messed up, recognize when we need to scale up and lead in certain areas. And doesn't mean that you're going to be the nerd that handles the budgets. It just means that you want to get on the same page and you want to move forward. And the hustling that you're doing, you, I'm sure, want it to go to something that's going to be profitable, that's going to help your family, and that's going to help scale your family's legacy later down the road. So that conversation, I highly encourage you to have it if you haven't already. And it's way better when you're on the same page building together. So, question of the day: what conversation do you need to have with your wife in order to continue to design legacy for your family? If you're willing to share, drop it in the comments section. I'd love to connect with you. If you have any questions for me, drop it in the comments section. I'd love to respond and connect. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you gained any value from this or enjoyed watching this video, please like and subscribe to it. If you have any questions for me, drop it in the comments section. I'd love to connect. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video.